big piece of news today. Ian Rappaport reported that Jaguars cornerback / wide receiver Travis Hunter underwent season-ending knee surgery with eyes set on a return in 2026. It was an LCL repair for Travis Hunter, according to Ian Rappaport. He's expected to return within 6 months to full football activities. Ray, talk about something in the preseason I was so excited to see. I was excited to see Travis Hunter, attempt to play both ways. I was obviously really excited to see him play wide receiver. I was super, and still remain super, super high on his outlook as a wide receiver if he focuses in on that position. And man, you and I just a few weeks ago, although talk about something that feels like a million months ago at this point, but it wasn't that long ago, you and I were getting all excited about his post-bye ramp-up, him potentially being elevated to the top spot in the passing game. My God, the whiplash on this has just been brutal. And obviously, it's got to feel even worse for Travis. It's got to feel even worse for Liam Cohen. You could tell when he's talked about it publicly. But man, this is a brutal one. It was supposed to be a short-term absence. Rap Sheet himself was even saying when they made the Jacoby Myers trade, hey, he might only miss 3 more games. Well, that was a week ago, and now he's out for the season is Travis Hunter. Just a total bummer here. I'm not sure what the reaction. Oh, my God.
Oh. Cue the sad trombone, taps, and that looks like pure pain, right? I don't know what was going on during this particular episode in this moment, but that is the look of pain, my friend. My God.
If you're listening to the audio version of this, I apologize that you cannot see this graphic, and you will never see it because there is no chance I'm tweeting this out. So you'll just have to watch the YouTube version of this, Yahoo Fantasy YouTube channel, to check out this graphic. I mean, that number one, that is a face I have never made in my entire life. I am questioning that is a deep fake in terms of this face that is a pure disappointment. Obviously, this is Jason Jung's work, who I compliment all the time on the show, and now I'm furious at. But this is clearly an altered face. This is a deep fake. This is not me. But it does represent how I feel about the fact that we are not getting a second half of the rookie season for Travis Hunter now that he is out for the year. So I don't really know what the takeaway here other than what the face shows, which is just pure sadness.
I'm actually very glad that the producers put that in there for a small bit of comedic relief, because this is a very sad topic, Matt. This is, from a variety of angles. One, when you just think about the football standpoint of this move, like they traded up to get Travis Hunter. They traded future draft capital to draft Travis Hunter to play this unicorn offensive, defensive position. That's up in smoke, and you really didn't see him excel on either side of the ball this year. But then when you think about him as a wide receiver for fantasy football and the expectations that we had, Liam Cohen's offense, and then after the bye, the talk about increased usage after we saw him in week 7, like developmentally, this is very, very unfortunate. And I didn't buy it. I didn't buy it last week. When you trade a 4th and a 6th, I said it on the show. I was like, I'm not buying it. This seems like there's something else going on. Like, you don't go make a move for a player like that. And it was just very ambiguous. Knee injury, but no one knew what it was. This is tough from an NFL standpoint. Fantasy football, this is a kick. This is a kick below the waist, right? For what you paid for him, the expectations in redraft, dynasty, rookie drafts, this stinks. This stinks.
It stinks. And number one, from just a pure developmental perspective, I think he's a guy who we saw in the first few weeks of the season. Now he really started to improve on film and isolation towards that game before the bye. He improved a lot, but he was somebody that definitely needed to get some experience and really get more development as a route runner and as a technician at the NFL level. And I think we started to see that come to fruition the longer he played, which is great. But from a development perspective, this is a setback. And, from a pure fantasy perspective for drafts next year, there's going to be a bunch of people that just say, no, thanks. I'm not getting on that ride ever again Okay, I'm not getting on that ride of, is he playing corner this week? Is he playing this much snaps on offense or whatever? Because I get it, because now you don't have any sort of sample of him as just a wide receiver. We're going to go into his second season with no idea of what, unless they just come out and say it, and maybe that happens, but I don't know. I think they'll probably do a lot of what they did this offseason, where Cohen says one thing and actions are another, and this, that, and it's going to be a little bit hard to pin down, a little bit difficult to uncover where the truth is. And I think that's really unfortunate. We'll just go into this second season with no real idea of what he's going to be doing from a role perspective. So again, that is really frustrating if you're somebody that invested him in Dynasty. Any of those things here, it's going to be I think it will be a frustrating next few months and into the offseason for Travis Hunter, unless we get some clarity on what he's going to be with this team, which I'm kind of skeptical that happens.
Matt, let me ask you this question, and this is not to be harsh. This isn't. Would you call his rookie season a bust? Was this a bust, not of a player, of a rookie season for Travis Hunter at this point, knowing that he's not going to play again?
Yeah, I think the experiment looks bad at this point. The results were not what you wanted. So, I mean, with that in mind, how do you call it anything other than a letdown at the very best, right? And again, injuries happen like this, and there's no proof that him playing on both sides of the ball increased his risk or anything. He got injured in a non-contact drill in practice. Like, that could have happened no matter what. But no question, this is a letdown performance in terms of what he did as a rookie, and that is just really unfortunate. This is something that could look really good next year. We just are going to go into it unsure of what the next season looks like, and that is really a big bummer. But we've got the rest of this season to worry about here. We've got the rest of this week to worry about here, Ray Garvin. So with that, we're actually going to talk about this team when we get into it, but let's get into the Week 11 data dump.
Yes, science!
My calculations are correct. You're going to see some serious.
All right, we're going to stick in Jacksonville for your first point, Ray Garvin, so let's hear it.
Yeah, and this data point was drafted before the news of Travis Hunter missing the season. So I do think it changes the equation a little bit, and we'll talk about that. But I do want to highlight Parker Washington and just how good he has been for the Jags when given opportunity. And in particular, in third down situations for the Jacksonville Jaguars, which they are in third down situations quite a bit with Trevor Lawrence. He's got top 3 in the NFL in pass attempts on third down this season is Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars. But Parker Washington in particular, during this stretch since the bye week, his usage from the slot and on third downs, 75% of third down receptions for Parker Washington, they're advancing the ball for first down. Inside the red zone, he's got an 85.7% catch rate, 19.4% target share in the red zone for Parker Washington. So think about this for a minute. Hey, this is a guy that if we give opportunities to on third down, good things are happening. We're moving the sticks, we're advancing the chains. And when we're throwing it to him in the red zone, we've got some trust with him. He's got 1 red zone touchdown. He's got 2 since the bye, but 1 red zone touchdown. 60.7% of his catches on third down result in first downs, and 32% of his catches this season have gone for 15-plus yards. So the sample size for Parker Washington isn't high. We're not talking about a player who's got 70, 80 receptions on the season. It's a small sample size in Jacksonville, but I even think what we saw last week, now granted, Jacoby Myers did have a big play overturned in that game, but Parker Washington was a steady target for Trevor Lawrence. 7 targets on the team. He did get the red zone look, scored in the red zone, 3 catches overall. With this news of Hunter not being in the building anymore for this season, not sure where Brian Thomas Jr. is going to end up. Matt, I think, this is just me, because of where Parker Washington wins and how he wins, I think this is the one in Jacksonville for what that's worth. I still think Myers is going to be good, but Parker Washington is the type of player that if you can get him still, if he's out there, if he's one of those those players that people don't think can make a real impact down the stretch, and you can make some trades in seasonal leagues. Like, this would be the type of play. I am willing to put the chips in on his role inside this offense, the trust that he's kind of garnered on those third down situations and in red zone situations, and the fact that there is no more Hunter. That dream is gone. So let's start to plan around the players that are there, and Jacksonville is still in it. They're still competing for a wild card spot. So they're going to play down to the finish. They really can't run the ball effectively right now. I really like Parker Washington right now.
Oh, yeah. Season started today. They would be in the playoffs as that 7th seed. So they're definitely still live. It doesn't feel like it. They don't feel like a playoff team, but nevertheless, they are live if the season ended today as that 7th seed. So they're fighting. I love that point there. Since the two games since the bye, 65% routes for Parker Washington, 93% of the dropbacks he has run a route. That is clearly the number one receiver on this team in that span. The second most routes run on the team is 38 for De'Ami Brown in this stretch. Now, obviously, they've had injuries, things like that, but man, Washington has been the guy who's been on the field, and he's been making plays, to your point, in critical situations. I love that catch that he made in the end zone. That was pretty spectacular in this past week's game. We know he made a play on special teams as well. Touchdown there. He's been in the slot on 53% of his snaps. That's what we want to see. Talked about that last week with Justin Boone before this trade went down, and talked about it with you as well, that Liam Cohen's saying that, hey, he's going to remain the slot receiver for this team is important because that's where Parker Washington wins. So I think Parker Washington is a pretty good player. It's not what we expected it to be, where, hey, this Jaguars passing offense, we're lighting the world on fire with Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr. That dream is long since dead, that trio was going to be the thing that helped this team. But Washington, to me, Ray, is a useful role player who is a credible NFL receiver and someone that I think can make legit plays in critical areas, as you highlight here.
Wow, do you see this poll? Best fantasy wide receiver in Jacksonville rest of the season. For some reason, I guess I still think people have more hope on Brian Thomas than they actually do. But the poll, 58% Parker Washington, 24% Brian Thomas, 18% Jacoby Myers. I do want to put out there, though, Matt, like, I think Washington is the one. You make a good point for what this offense is, which is not the 2024 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? Like, so this idea that having the 1 and the 2 in Jacksonville is this prized possession, probably we need to adjust those buckets of expectation. This isn't last year's Buccaneers. Even if he is the one, I do think that Myers will be a factor in this offense. They did try to get him the ball. He did have a big play overturned in that game. Probably would have been a touchdown, I think, for Jacoby Myers. It had it overturned. So had a couple of things broken in his favor on Sunday. I think there'd be more of a debate here. The bigger thing is Washington has been productive when given opportunity in this offense. There's that comfortability there. There's that. He just knows where to be in this offense, and I think he's got a really good role for a team that will continue to push for, holding on to that playoff spot here in 25.
Yeah, the poll that Ray is mentioning, we asked the chat, who's the best fantasy wide receiver in Jacksonville rest of season? Parker Washington runs away with it at 58%. Brian Thomas Jr., 24%. Jacoby Myers, 18%. BTJ is just tell me, is he going to be healthy? Obviously, that's concern number one. Is he on the field? And then there's a lot of other concerns based on what we've seen with Brian Thomas Jr. this year. But I think it's going to be pretty close in terms of Parker Washington and Jacoby Myers. Myers ran around 50% of the dropbacks, 2.56 yards per route run. I think he was obviously useful when they got him the football in the way. And you're right to point out that play that got called back. But I would take the way over on 50 to even 60% of the routes. He's going to play a lot more this coming week for sure. He lined up inside and out as well. I just think both of these guys, Washington and Myers, fit the profile of what I think of a Liam Cohen wide receiver. Of course, trying to replicate what they did last year with Chris Goddard and Mike Evans is difficult because those guys are just high-end NFL players.
Yes.
They didn't have anybody like that in this offense, but both these guys are smart. They know where to be. They can do all of the splits and hey, the pre-snap motion. I like that. I also like that Parker Washington has had a 9.3 and 5.4 air yards per target mark the last 2 games, as opposed to some of these games where I'm looking at 20, 13.5, 17.5. Like, that's not his game. I don't know how much you watched him coming in the league out of Penn State, but to me, he looked like a short area slot receiver,
Yes.
like a rugged, reliable, knows where to be. I called him kind of a poor man's Golden Tate type player because I do think he's a little feisty. So that to me is, I think, where we'd like. He doesn't have nearly the yak juice of a guy like Golden Tate, but as a receiver, he's that type of guy. So I think there's some staying power here with Parker Washington, an offense that I still think is well designed. It's going to be a roller coaster the rest of the way with Trevor Lawrence because that's the Trevor Lawrence experience. But I do think the offense is well designed.
It is the Trevor Lawrence experience, and that is the caveat. It's like an asterisk next to everything Jacksonville Jaguar pass catcher, because he can go out there and complete 25 passes for 250 or complete 13 of them for 100 and something yards like he did last Sunday.
I won't derail us with this conversation, but the more I've thought about the quarterback market in the offseason, I feel like there's going to be a lot more sellers than buyers, or more folks that are open-minded to the idea of having a new starting quarterback. And then some of these guys, just from the musical chairs perspective, they're going to be left with the guy they had last year. It's like, no, we didn't flirt with Mac Jones. We believed in this guy all along.
Yeah.
And Mac Jones might be the
We're
bell of the ball,
headed for an interesting one, Matt. I'm with you.